here, reporting live from Hades. Yes, you heard that right, Hades. From the beginning of time until now, when people die, their souls go to Hades. But after Jesus died and slayed death by death, he came to Hades to free all those who were being held captive here, taking them with him to paradise. Now, we have a couple people here who have been waiting for this day for thousands of years and have not lost hope. Let's see what they have to say on the matter.
We heard knocking at the door, and the demons were trembling. And then all of a sudden, boom! The gates broke off, and the place was filled with light, a light brighter than the sun itself. And we hadn't seen light since we were alive on earth. It was the Lord who came and broke the gates of brass and tore down the bars of iron. It was the Lord who came to save us. I knew he would come. I knew he would come to save us. This is the day the Lord had made, and I had written hymns about this. I wrote songs about this. He came down and broke down the bars of iron. Who is the King of glory? The Lord, the majestic, the strong, the mighty in the battle. He is the King of glory.
It was unlike a scene of any other kind. I thought being slaves to the Egyptians and running away from them was scary. We've been in Hades for thousands of years. The Egyptians were nothing compared to our days here. But I remember how joyful and thankful we were to God when we were led out of Egypt by crossing the Red Sea. We were singing songs and hymns and we were dancing. It was like a big party. But that happiness did not compare to today, when Jesus came and took us by our hands and took us to paradise. Let us sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously.
There was no confusion when I heard the Lord's voice at the gates. His voice is distinct to me. It brought me back to all our meetings, the burning bush, and the time I received the 10 Commandments. It's a voice filled with power, yet compassion. When he spoke, gates broke open and filled us with peace and happiness. I knew Jesus was coming soon to fulfill his promise and redeem us, because John the Baptist came to Hades and told us it was almost time. A couple months later on Mount Tabor, I was brought up to see Jesus transfigured, and Elijah was there too. When I was brought back to Hades, I had to tell everyone not to lose hope. The Lord is coming. He loves us and cares for our salvation. He is risen.
For thousands of years, we were bound in chains because I chose to put God's commandment behind me and eat of the fruit of the tree. I would cry bitterly in those days because we could no longer live with God in paradise. We hid ourselves because we were ashamed of what we had done. The more we hid ourselves, the more he sought us out. He sought us out even to the point of death. We could no longer live with him, so he came and lived with us. He died for our sakes and rose from the dead to raise us up with him. When I saw his face, I was filled with joy beyond imagination. He took my hand and raised me out of the grave. He took Adam and I and restored us to our first state. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, restoring life. How great is our Savior!
Jesus the compassionate was crucified too.
Good morning. It's Fatma reporting live from the scene here at the tomb where the man named Jesus was buried after being crucified and died. Witnesses say his body is gone and that the rock in front of the tomb was already rolled away when they got here early in the morning. Here we have Mary with us. You claim that Jesus is alive. Mary, can you tell us what you saw?
Okay, well, bottom line, he's risen. Jesus is risen. My friends and I, we had woken up very early to bring spices and oil to place on his body. And we'd been planning it for a while and we couldn't go because of the Sabbath, but we gathered our things, we started to make our way over, and there were a lot of unanswered questions in our head. I mean, like, who's gonna roll away the stone? Would the guards even let us? You know, a lot of uncertainty, but we knew regardless, Jesus wasn't gonna let anything stand in our way. But when we got there, the body was missing. And I was so shocked. I was completely heartbroken. It was a little interesting though. I mean, his clothes were folded neatly. So we thought whoever took this body, they couldn't have been in a rush. And then we saw 2 angels and they told us he is risen, just as he said. Now, my friends, they went to tell the disciples, but I was still kind of coming to terms with it, processing. So I stuck around for a bit, and that's when I saw him.
What do you mean you saw him? Who did you see?
Well, I thought it was the gardener, and so I freaked out on him because I thought maybe he had been the one who took the body. But after I looked up and I heard his voice, I realized that it was Jesus. He is alive, just as he said. I was so happy, and it just gave me so much peace, and I couldn't wait to spread the good news.
Well, we're happy to hear that, Mary. Truly, he is risen.